Okay, in this video I'm going to primarily talk about VPA, do some prospecting. I'm doing this on Saturday morning, December 19th, 2015. You can see that down at the bottom right corner of my screen. It was a brutal day yesterday for stocks. You would think everything was down. It just there wasn't much positive at all. In fact, I'm going to pause this. I paused to bring up this heat map in Thinkorswim. I just wanted to show you how bad it looks in here. It's really hard to find anything positive, but now I'm going to minimize this. We're going to go into Woodward and Brown, and we're going to go into the SmartGroups. Now there are SmartGroups. These are all the VPA signals right here. We have Charles Kirkpatrick, Dave Steckler, Dave Gallardi, Ian and I, Jeffrey Scott, Larry Connors, Morales and Casher, and Morpheus Trading Group. These are the smart groups that I have in here, and I'm going to concentrate on Woodward and Brown. I just want to show you how you can quickly find some potential candidates. I don't know if this is not a great time to be looking at the long side, but after looking at that heat map, you would think there is nothing out there. But what we're going to do is take a look at the best of Woodward and Brown. These are stocks that appear most often in all of these other Woodward and Brown smart groups, and then the top 10 are automatically added to this view. I'm going to click through to the warehouse view, and I'll go down here to that new trend combo that I talked about in video number 3, and notice how these trends are all lined up. Or this may not be a good example. There's only 10, but notice that this is the best of Woodward and Brown index, and you can see how these stocks are doing. They're going straight up. But looking at the stocks, Canadian Solar, JA Solar, there's a couple of solars in here. Actually, there's 3 solars in here. So this group alone will often show you where the leaders are. And the top 50 GIR that I talked about, it does that too. But this really narrows it down to 10. So let's just look at a few of these. This is a good place to explain these VPA trends. So let me bring JSO up. I recommended this in my morning report the other day. I said you should put it in your watch list at least, and it's now appearing in the Woodward and Brown top 10, and this was primarily based upon technicals. But notice what has happened here. We have all 3 trends up, and on the other trending system they're all up there too. The group is moving up. It formed a viable gap, and now it's forming a flag. Gonna do a close-up zoom on this so you can see it better. And the fundamentals on this stock are great. EPS ranks 89, the relative strength is 95, the group's 96, A accumulation, ERG is 280. Yes, it's seasonal. You can see the seasonal revenue and earnings graph, but look at this earnings growth here. I have no idea why this is a $9 or $10 stock at this point, but the point is W&B top 10 pulled it up, and if you look at these flags, you can see that there have been very many positive. This was a negative and it pulled back for a couple of days, but lots of positive flags on this stock and signals. And then when you combine it with a group moving up and with the pocket pivots, the odds are really in your favor. Now let me explain the trending while I'm in here. I'm going to go to the trend colored bars rather than the VPA colored. Notice that this color represents all three trends being up. Now, how do we determine the trends? Well, up here I created a chart. I explained this at the webinar. I don't know if I was very clear, but anyway, I'm going to explain it again. This line represents a 5-day simple moving average of the closing prices of a security or a group. And now using the best fit, there is a 3-day period. The short term, it represents 3 days of this 5-day moving average. So you take the 5-day moving average first, and then a very short term would be the last 3 days. So if I bring up an arrow here, so I would go to this point right here, which is directly below 3 days ago, and if this arrow is pointing up, that trend is up for the 3-day period based upon the 5-day simple moving average. If I do the same for 10-day, and 10, here's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So from this point on the simple moving average to here, that's obviously up. Now the next one is 40 days. So I'm just going to approximate this. Anything that's pointing up is above 0, and these are your trends. Maybe I should count these 40 out. I'm going to pause this. Okay, so back here, this is 40 days. And if I go from the moving average of the 5-day, the simple moving average of the 5-day closes, and go from 40 to this point, you can see they all converge here. So all three trends are up. And when you get mixed trends, just remember, you can build a chart. Just add the under the current view, I just went in under price, put a moving average in here. It's a 5-day simple moving average of the close. And if you want to do this to understand the trend concepts a little better, fine. Now this is one trendy system, the VPA, and then this is another one, which is the random walk. This was added later to Amy Broker, and it is currently in, well, it will be in HGSI 2, but they're different formulas. I primarily am paying attention to the VPA trends, and the reason, I will look at this, but I'm screening and everything on these trends. Why? Because they're in the warehouse view. I can just go directly from the warehouse to see what's going on as far as trending. Now let's take a look at ABMD. Its long-term trend is down, but the other two trends are up. So I'll bring this up, and 40 days would be back in here. This is why the long-term trend is down. I'm going to pause this and actually count 40 days. Okay, the first blue bar is 40 days. So if I go from the 5-day simple moving average of the closes and draw this down here, you can see clearly that this moving average, this trend is down. But if I go back 3 days from here, this one's up. If I go back 10 days, right about here, that trend's up. So this is how the trends are determined. Just keep that in mind. So if you see something like this, where the long-term trends are down, there's probably been a break in price like we saw on ABMD. Now let's look at these other two. Well, same thing, break in price, but now they've recovered and they're moving up, and they make the top 10 of the best of Woodward and Brown. So that's how these trends are determined. It's you just look here in the warehouse, and you can get a feel for it after you understand this concept. So you look for trends. What this tells us is that these stocks were down, and now they're turning up and they're moving. I'm going to flip through them one more time, and some are better than the others. I guess I went through all three of them, but if you look at all three of them, Let's start that again. Pocket pivots coming in. There have been multiple VPA flags, and even though over here to the left you're going to have a lot of resistance, let's look at a weekly chart. Right now these are in favor, and the group is favoring these also. On the weekly chart more. Of course the group turned down yesterday, but until yesterday's sell-off, the group was favoring these. Now let's go ahead and look at some other smart groups. I'm just going to go to the HGS 100, and you can see that out of the 100 there's only 43 that made the cut, 42 because of the index. It was just a bad day, and if you have to have at least C accumulation to get in the top 100. But notice the trending again with this VPA combo, my number 3, which I created for the VPA trend combo, and I showed you how to do this in the third video of my daily report in case you do not have these. All of these are trending up just like before. Let me do a longer zoom on this. This is a medium term. You can see that the trends are all up on here. Down here these were down, now they're up based upon 40 days, 10 days, and 3 days of the closing prices based upon this 5-day simple moving average. Now this one's a little bit looser. If you look down here at this side, you'll see that these trends are all up. So even in this disaster of yesterday, you can see that these smart groups are going in and finding decent stocks. Now, which of these have VPA signals today? Well, you can sort on this until the zeros come up, and you can see that a lot of these are negative, even though they made the top 100. If you go back and sort on the raw combo, the trends come back into place, and then you can just scroll down and look for positive. Well, that's a negative signal. Let's look for, see if I can find anything that's positive. These signals are 4 days old. Here's stamps. Here's XRS, which has been a beautiful stock, which has continued and continually appeared in the GIR top 50. And I looked at this with Ian yesterday. The signal was right here when it first started appearing, and that was an effort to rise. And notice the group was moving up. There were pocket pivots, and this VPA, as a rule, does a great job of finding good candidates for us. And if you don't want to spend the time going top down like I showed in my daily report, just come in and use these smart groups. Now, if you want stocks with earnings growth only, look at these consistent earnings growth or box stocks. All of them are in here, and look when sorting on raw combo where the strength is or the trends are. Now here's one with E accumulation or distribution, and the trends are all up. Something's wrong here. Well, okay, I see. It's a new issue. VPA does not start calculating an HGSI until you have 120 days. So that's why we see this. The earnings, as a rule, are improving. Had a bad quarter here, but box stocks is a totally different subject. But when you see something like this, especially with no group and distribution like that, you know something's wrong. Let's look at some of these other ones. I'll just flip through these. Here's one I had, but you can see that we're getting some movement here. Here was a test. Here was a no supply, a test, a movement up. The trends are all up. You can see that the volume's running above normal on all these. Look at the earnings growth up here. It doesn't take long to flip through these smart groups, and if you have these with the trends all lined up, you know that this is good stuff. Now let's do something else here. These trends are all up, but I want these in industries to group together. So I just leave it on the raw combo, which is the trend combo, and then I'm going to go to the industry. That's going to be my secondary sort, and now all of these stocks that are trending up are grouped by the industry groups. Here's 3 renewables right here together. You can see the trends are all up. Now First Solar has been moving up. I see yesterday that there was some profit taking, which you would expect on a day like yesterday, but it's really holding the gap. And JSO, one of its cousin stocks, is, I pointed out already, it's holding the gap. And look at Solar Edge, SEDG. It's in the box stocks too. So there's 3 right there. These I'm going to right mouse click. I'm going to quick add to group. I've established a 1218 smart group. I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to put this one in here. Quick add to group. And on Monday, I'll put First Solar in too. I can either track them on HGSI on a delayed basis, or I can put them, anything on my watch list, into my trading platform. I use Thinkorswim. Okay, so these are the groups and these are the trends. Now, if I stay on this sort, I can go to any other smart group, or I can go to all securities. Let's look for the 85 stocks. That means that the relative strength and the EPS are both 85, and they are sorted according to trends and groups. Now, I know Adobe was down on Friday. LGND has been trending for a long time. Beautiful. Lots of VPA signals here. Here were a couple that were down and it pulled back a little bit. Here's a no supply. It chopped sideways. There was a sell signal, but that was soon reversed. So we're getting mixed signals on this, but I certainly always keep my eyes on the pocket pivots too, and also the force indexes, because a lot of times the force indexes are going to give signals when the VPAs do not. Here's a good example right here. Both force indexes turned positive on this bar. There was a pocket pivot the next day, but there was a VPA signal there too, I guess. But anyway, I look at both because you're not going to get VPA signals all the time, but you may get force index signals. So what I like to look at are the VPA signals, of course, the force index signals, the group, and of course the market. Those are the primary things I focus on. Price and volume. VPA includes pocket pivots where we see some institutional interest. Okay, let's look at a few more here. You might want to look at the 52-week highs. 23 stocks, 22 with the index. Passed this yesterday. You can see the signals. The last one on this was 19 days ago, 20 days ago, effort to rise. Let's take a look at this one. Here it is, 20 days ago. That was, the last VPA signal, and it was a good signal. But before that, there was a flag for a high volume up bar closing on the high. That indicates strength. The same next day the group turned up. This started moving up too. then we get that buy signal. Let's look back here a little further. Pocket pivot with 2 buy signals in effort to rise. You can see it was trending down at that point because these bars are red. This trend was also down, but we had high volume up bar closing on the high indicates strength, effort to rise, bullish side. 2 flags there. Look how tight this stock is even on the way down. And I'm still using the chart with the 5-day simple moving average in it. There's another signal, another signal. These are all efforts to rise. Here's another one. Here's a negative signal, which turned out to be a good signal. It was a high volume down bar after an up move on high volume indicates weakness. Here is a no supply. Kept going down though, but look why it's going down. The group's going down. And then we get a high volume up bar closing on the high indicates strength. Guess what? The group turned up the next day. Effort to rise. So on and so forth. Lots of great signals here. I haven't looked at Red Hat for a long time. Let's look at it. It's pretty loose for consideration. Now in these videos I'm not spending a lot of time on fundamentals. I'm primarily looking at VPA in this one, just pointing out how valuable it is and how these signals work in conjunction with pocket pivots, force indexes, and signals, and the group. It's primarily what I'm looking for. Oftentimes when you see these negative signals, the group is rolling over. Now here on the last day, we're getting an up thrust bar, a sign of weakness, and a very high volume. It opened here, closed here on extreme volume. Options expiration day. Have to wait and see what happens. See if this is a buyable gap or if this is related to options expiration. The point is, well, a couple things. The market was terrible yesterday, but look how these smart groups are finding some stocks. Some of them have signals today. Most of the signals are negative, but there are some positive signals. So if you concentrate on the smart groups and look for the days since the VPA signals, or actually just go into the VPA and screen these out, and I'll do that in a second, and then I'm going to end this movie. But look at this stock. I mean, okay, that was negative, positive. This is transfer of ownership. It went down after that. They were selling into that. Here's a negative signal, then a test, and a test is on low volume, and it started moving up again. Here's another no supply, and then some down signals, and it went sideways. At the same time, there was a test here and a test here, and then here's the effort to rise. On the effort to rise, notice the pocket pivot happens at the same time the group's starting to move up, and so on. I'm going to end this video right now. I'll be doing much more in VPA as we go forward. This is just kind of a primer, but don't overlook these smart groups to help you eliminate a lot of work and a lot of time. I said I was going to quit, but I'm going to do one more thing. What I want to show you. If you want to look for specific signals, and let's go back to that I'll go back to the HGS 100, even though there aren't 100 stocks in here. If you go to the views I put in here, you can do the all bullish signals. You can do the bearish signals. VPA signal today with stocks and groups are above their 22-day moving average. These are below their moving average. VPA signals are both a positive and negative. Oh, no, I'm sorry. These are below the 22. This has both the positive and the negative. These are within the last 5 days. See this column right here? It tells you when they were. This is some flag sentiment, stopping volume, flag transfer, no supply, flag reversal. And then this is for something else for later. But if you want the bullish ones only, effort to rise, high volume up bar and close, that's that one I just looked at. This is an up bar closing near the high. You can just flip through these. I'm not going to go through all of them. And then these are the signals just for the indexes. I've explained this in other videos, but they're pretty self-explanatory. The indexes have their own signals the way I've set them up. So if you want to screen on industry groups only, these are bullish, stopping volume, that's bullish or can be. You have to use your own judgment on this, but anyway, let's bring up a chart. You can see very heavy volume here, but there is some buying coming in. That's why we get these stopping volume signals. Bearish, just a duplication of what you're seeing up here in the all signals, but I did it for the indexes. And then I also did it for the ETFs. If you go to all securities, you'll get the ETF signals. And more than likely, you're not going to look at all these ETFs. So what I do is I concentrate on the ETFs in my Woodward and Brown ETF groups. You can see that the bearish signals, of course, dominated on Friday. These are all of the ETFs in this folder that generated the signal, and then these are in the last 5 days. There will be more to come on VPA. You just really need to start playing with it and get a feel for the signals and see what happens after these signals occur. But remember, look at the groups, see what the groups are doing, see what the market's doing, obviously, and see what the VPA signal is telling you, and then of course look at these VPA trends, and you'll find some great candidates along the way. Thanks for listening.